It's a pleasure to have you on the final edition of Business Incorporated for the week. I am Bisi Adebayo. On the program today, Kenya and South Africa's PMI fall in July. In Packaging and Paper Group, Mondi declares a 25% increase in half-year underlying profit. Plus, Sinopec to hold off on buying U.S. crude amidst escalating U.S.-China trade war. Now, let's hit the markets right away, beginning from home here in Nigeria, where the oil share index is trending lower at midday. Now, the South African index is looking up at intraday with a 0.56% uptick. Egypt closed Thursday's session 0.87% higher, while Kenya was unchanged on Wednesday. And the markets in the Middle East are closed for the week, but on Thursday, Abu Dhabi led a tumble of most Gulf bourses as the fear spread of an escalating trade dispute between the United States and China. The benchmark index closed down 0.7%, pulled down by financial, telecom and energy stocks. In Dubai, the main index closed down 0.15% as developer Emaar Properties and its units Emaar Development and Emaar Malls lost 0.7%, 0.4% and 1.4% respectively. And in Qatar, the index closed flat at 9,981 points, with Commercial Bank losing 1.2% and Qatari Investors Group rising 4.0%. In Saudi Arabia, the financial stocks weighed on the region's biggest stock market to drag the main index down 0.05%. The Saudi Arabian bourse saw some support from the National Commercial Bank, which rose 0.4%, and Jaril Marketing gained 1%. And stocks in Europe moved higher on Friday as investors digested further corporate earnings and news that Apple's valuation hit $1 trillion. Well, let's cross over now to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange, where Daniel Coop is standing by to dissect these numbers and more. It's good to see you, Daniel. Now, tell me, how are you coping with the extreme heat right there?
Yeah, sorry about the delay. I guess we had some issues here with the line between Frankfurt and Nigeria today. Maybe because of the heat, who knows? I mean, Europe and Germany, we are really suffering at the moment, let me tell you that. I mean, we are really not used to this extreme weather that we are dealing with. I mean, simply I always have my drink here right away with me, even though there is at least some air condition here at the stock market. Also for many, including myself, even sleeping at night is impossible. Now for you are saying, well, why are those Europeans, you know, I mean, we are used in Nigeria to the heat, but I mean, it's really crazy. And let me tell you that this is also having an impact right now, you know, on the industry. Farmers, they have been complaining here in Germany and in Europe for a long time. They are very much worried that they could have very bad results. You know, because also because of the heat, it is very dry in many regions here in Europe. It has not rained really for a long time, and you know, the season where the farmers, you know, go to the field and you know, take everything that was growing throughout the last time, this is going to happen very soon. And yes, they are very worried that this could have a big financial impact. That's why many here also in Germany are asking the German government, you know, to step in to give financial support. We had a statement earlier this week from the agricultural minister Glöckner. She is here from this region, and she was saying that for the moment it's still too early to say if maybe the government could jump in, could give financial support to those poor farmers, because on the one hand, yes, there are some who are really suffering, but on the other hand, for some, this is actually a very successful summer. When you talk, for example, about wineries, here in Frankfurt, we live very close to a big area in Germany where you find lots of wineries, and for them, this summer could be actually one of the best in a very long time. So yeah, it's a little bit divided. Also, when you talk, for example, about the construction business, because of this heat, lots of construction companies, they had to reduce the working hours of their employees because simply they couldn't stand the heat anymore. So yes, it is having an impact on the industry. Of course, You know, we here in Germany saying usually we are always complaining when the winter or the fall is too long. We are complaining, you know, that the weather is not good enough. Now we have this extreme heat, you know, here, and we are also complaining. So yeah, I guess it's difficult to make it, you know, right for everybody. Even though I was personally, you know, born in Brazil, so many are telling me, yeah, you should be, you know, used to the heat. I also personally, I can't stand it anymore, and really looking forward when it's finally getting a little bit cooler again.
So sorry about the heat, Daniel. Just find ways to keep yourself cool. Now, let's talk about Allianz new figures. Now, the insurer reported a 5.2% fall in the second quarter net income. And of course, this highlights a negative impact from the sale of its traditional life insurance portfolio in Taiwan. But what more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, it was really interesting to see, you know, how those results are unfolding, because Allianz is a company that does lots of insurance also in companies, for example, in the United States, in Florida, for example, where people were heavily impacted by those tropical storms that we saw there during the last year. And despite that, the numbers that Allianz was providing today, yes, they looked indeed very good. When you take a look at their sales volumes, and compare this to the last year, that went up by 3% to a volume of 1.9 billion euros. So yeah, those numbers, they have been very promising. Also, Allianz was is among the top performers here at the Blue Chip Index DAX. So yeah, also the outlook, that's what investors are telling me, looks pretty optimistic. So yep, the progress report Allianz is getting today from investors is certainly A+ today.
Now, just before I let you go, Daniel, what's on the agenda for next week?
Well, the trade conflict certainly is going to be one of the big topics also next week. It's going to be really interesting to see how this dispute between the United States and China is going to continue. We have to remember that US President Donald Trump was threatening China for to even receive higher tariffs, up to 25%. So this is going to be a big topic. That's why we are also expecting quite some volatility here at the stock market. Also, the earning season is going to continue. We're expecting big companies such as Bayer, also Germany's second biggest lender, Commerzbank, to open their books and to give quarterly numbers. Also Merck, the pharmaceutical giant, Fraport, the big airport here in Frankfurt as well. So yeah, there is quite a lot on the agenda, so I'm sure you'll have lots of topics to cover next week as well. Now back to you, and hope you're having a terrific weekend over there in Lagos.
All right, Daniel, I wish you all the best. And of course, do remember to always stay cool despite the heat. Have a great weekend.